my purpose. Know why I try with you, this shit is feeling worthless. Put my pain up in these. Hey, shawty was a demon, but an angel at the surface. Gave you my whole life and now I'm trying to find my purpose. Don't know why I try with you, this shit is.
What's up, guys? I'm Landon from Shoeware, and today we're checking out the newest addition to LeBron's shoe line, the Nike LeBron 19 sweatsuit. So first, thank you guys for stopping by to check us out. Feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching and give this video a like. We would greatly appreciate that. But starting off with the box, these do come in a black box with some patterns and designs that lightly show up on top. And you also have that LJ logo on top. That's actually pretty cool because you can't see through it and kind of peek directly into the shoebox from the outside. So, I thought that was a nice touch. And I feel like Nike always goes a little bit harder on LeBron boxes compared to other shoe lines. But this is the first colorway for the LeBron 19, so I can't really speak on if all the boxes will look like this. I honestly doubt it, but it is just the box. But as for pricing, this is the most expensive signature shoe line on the market right now, retailing for $200 even. So it does match the retail price for last year's LeBron 18, so at least there was no price increase. So checking out the overall design and the appearance for this new shoe, they pretty much switched up everything from the LeBron 18 just as far as the look goes. So this is going to be a higher shoe from last year's design. These are kind of like in between a mid and a high, probably closer to a high top shoe for basketball. But something pretty cool about this design is it's like a shoe within a shoe. So if you peel back the top layer of this LeBron 19, you can see some like different patterns, which is actually a map of Nike's world headquarters and the Warner Brother parking lot underneath that overlay. So, once again, the details that go into shoes just never ceases to amaze me. I thought that was a really cool touch. But just to hit on a few other just details for the appearance, they did take the bubble, the three bubbles that kind of ran up the middle of the tongue from last year's LeBron 18. They took that off of this year, and I do like that because those bubbles kind of gave me like an uncomfortable playing experience sometimes. So you at least don't have to worry about that on this year's model. And then you do have a bubble that kind of shows up around the ankle, around the heel, that runs across the entire back of the shoe. And that's honestly just kind of fun to play with. You can feel the air in there, but you can also see through the cushioning setup and get a peek into those units that are at work all the way from like the front to the back on the bottom of these shoes. So I do feel like that's a pretty nice design. And like I said, it is pretty much entirely switched up from last year's LeBron 18, but these still do look really nice. But it definitely is a pretty big shoe in hand. It doesn't look like the most guard-centered shoe, especially because it runs a little bit on the bulky side while being pretty heavy too. So that's just something that I noticed, or that's just how it seems to me. So now breaking down the materials and looking more at the performance side, we'll start off with the cushioning first. So these have a Cushlon foam midsole, which is meant to be softer and more responsive than Phylon. And these really do have a nice and springy feel. The LeBron 19 also has a Zoom Air unit in the forefoot, or just like the front half of the shoe, that is paired with like some really thick Max Air units that you can see through the bottom of the shoe. And you can really see the compression whenever you apply force to this shoe. You just really see that section at work. And the impact protection on this shoe is really nice whenever you're landing from jumps, as well as like making any types of movements. So I feel like cushion is always one of the major focal points for LeBron's shoe line. And you can see that remain a point of emphasis on this LeBron 19. So looking at the materials and the support, I think some pretty solid improvements were made to this year's LeBron 19 model. So I mentioned a little bit in the appearance how these shoes kind of give you that shoe within a shoe type feel. So these do have a full inner sleeve that conforms to your foot really well. And then the laces actually feed up through that outer piece or the overlay to kind of really lock your foot into the shoe. And last year for the LeBron 18, I was really down on the support. I just don't think Nike did enough to really reinforce your foot in the upper to just keep your foot in the shoe. And, I was kind of slipping out of that shoe a lot too near the heel. So they did do a few things on this year's model to fix that. So first, Nike made this shoe a little bit higher, which is just going to allow you to lace the shoe all the way up and around your ankle. So that did help keep my foot in the shoe a lot better. I didn't slip out at all really because you don't really have the chance to if you go ahead and lace these all the way up to the top. But I will say it's somewhat uncomfortable how these pointy pieces on each flap, they kind of can rub on your leg, but it's not bad at all. And it was just like one of my first times playing in it. So we'll see how that goes forward. But as for the support, Nike also added that transparent kind of fly wire cable on top of the overlay that kind of extends up from the midsole. And that's going to keep your foot in the shoe as well. So these do have a little bit of an outrigger if you look at them from the bottom. So you can see a small part of the design kind of protrude or like extend out to give you a wider base. So I was actually pretty impressed with the support on this year's design and materials that they added to this shoe, especially compared to last year's model. Alright, so to finish off with Traction, they switched up this year's design from last year's model. You know, I didn't really like last year's that much. And they went with a new setup that is a little bit better, I think. So these have a micro-engineered blade pattern that is actually meant to resemble LeBron's crown logo for King James. And these do play better than last year's design in my opinion. They still aren't very sticky, so you're not going to get that like stop on a dime type grip, but you know, definitely playable. So the court I tested them out on, it's not super clean, so I'll be interested to see how these do on a better court whenever I get the chance to test them out further. But my initial reaction for the Traction is that it's not great, but it's still pretty good. So that is going to be consistent with like how LeBron's shoe line normally plays for me. But you know, my early hope is that the Traction on these will be just good enough, because there's a lot of other pieces to this shoe that I do like. And these do have an all rubber outsole, which should be decent for outdoor use. But you know, you have to remember that this is a higher price shoe at $200. So it may not be the best for that. And I'm not really sure about like the fraying on that little crown Traction pattern design, how that's going to hold up with repeated use on like asphalt, concrete, or like any other outdoor surface. But you know, as for sizing, these are a true to size fit pretty much perfectly. And you know, for somewhat of a bulky look, this still isn't a very wide shoe, so you may want to consider going a half size up if you like, you know, some added room to play in. But you know, I didn't need to. But overall, the LeBron 19 is an improvement from last year's model in my opinion. For the same price of $200, you get a really clean design with solid cushioning as always. Definitely the highlight of the shoe is going to be the cushion, and that's just the way that it is for LeBron's line. But the support and the containment definitely improved from the LeBron 18, and the Traction may have gotten a little bit better too. So if you're interested in purchasing these shoes, go ahead and check out the links in the description below. And then, you know, last, just feel free to leave a comment below if you like this video, just letting us know any other shoes you may want us to check out. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoeware. Peace.